What's up, everybody? Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth. We get ready to take a look at Week 11 playoff games. We'll call them semifinal, quarterfinal, whatever you want to call them. Playoff games are going to be played this weekend in college football. We're going to preview those. We're going to take a look at the best bets, and we're going to react to that college football playoff. Does the committee know what's going on? Do they watch the sport of football? That and more in tonight's episode of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. Coming on the Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Well, we rock and roll here on a fantastic Wednesday evening. Bryce Koon, Ralph Leary, and Will Manis. Week 11 is upon us. November is here, and we are getting ready for a football season that, guys, this is how I feel about this, honestly. It's a football season that, yes, every single week is must-watch TV. We love college football. We talk about it 2 times a week on here. Yes, we absolutely love it. That being said, November seemingly, even though it's the final month of the regular season, this is like where the best football games seemingly take place every single year. And the people, that watch this, they enjoy it. A group of people that I don't think that watch it are the College Football Playoff Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a look at the college football playoff rankings that came out obviously last night. I know, guys, we were texting about this and everything. We had great conversation, last week about this on Wednesday. Will, I will start with you. A lot of people had a lot to say about our rankings that we came out with. We did our top 4 on Monday. Your reaction and any notable news that you saw from this, from the committee, and maybe any points made.
I mean, it looks like I think 1 through 11 was unchanged, which is a surprise. I know I had Ohio State at 1, and I gave my reasoning because Ohio State covered the spread against Rutgers. Georgia didn't cover against Missouri, but Missouri obviously a much better team than Rutgers. I know Georgia had them at home, and Ohio State had to play on the road. It's always tough going on the road in conference, no matter which conference it is. But I don't see how Georgia didn't jump Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State offensively is just nowhere near Georgia, and I think that was maybe the worst offensive performance we'll see from Georgia all year against Missouri. And, like I just said, going on the road is tough in conference. Georgia struggled against Auburn for a lot of the game, but still felt like they had control of that game. It still kind of felt like they had had control against Missouri, but even felt more of a question mark to me at home, and kind of more confusion why they played that way at home. But, I disagree. I think Georgia should have jumped, even though I put Ohio State at 1. I was just kind of trying to be different, But Oregon at number 6, man, they're still sniffing around. I think the committee really, really thinks that Oregon's got a shot to make it. They can avenge that earlier loss to Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, should we get there. Like I said on Monday, I don't think anybody wants to face Oregon or Alabama. The biggest loss to me is Air Force. Air Force is done. Air Force not going to make the New Year's Six, which is very unfortunate. I think the committee was a little harsh. Harsh having them at 25, and then harsh dropping them out like that, because those Commander-in-Chief trophies games, man, they're tough. They mean a lot. They mean more than a lot of rivalry games mean to a lot of other schools. But all that aside, Tulane was obviously the better group of 5 team than Air Force. But, it's interesting. We can kind of see how the committee's thinking and what they think could potentially happen, and who they would like. Keeping Oregon and Washington right outside that top 4, knowing Ohio State and Michigan will play, I think one of those two is going to take that final spot.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, what did this show us? It shows us that, Washington and Oregon, like you mentioned, that Pac-12 title game, it feels like it's going to be a de facto playoff game. The Ohio State-Michigan game is going to be a de facto playoff game. The SEC championship, Georgia-Alabama, is going to be something very interesting to kind of watch. So far right now, one thing that's kind of stood out to me is the fact that they have not put Georgia 1 is leaving the door open that a one-loss non-SEC champion Georgia would not go to the playoffs. I don't think they should. I think that, but the fact that they're just not the de facto number one team in the country is showing kind of that door maybe being open a little bit. Hey, shout out to Kansas. The Jayhawks, number 16 of the country. That's really cool to see. Oklahoma State. Football school. Yeah. Don't tell Bill Self that.
Everything's school.
I don't care if their basketball coach is the highest paid basketball coach over there at football school.
I like it though. Hey, Kansas 16, Oklahoma State 15, Missouri. I like the fact that I think they dropped 2 spots. It's a hard fought win on the hard fought loss on the road. Tennessee sitting there at number 13. I will say this: Ole Miss sitting there at 9. They lost to Alabama right above them, guys. If they win this weekend, is that enough for them to climb into the top 5, top 6? I think so. I don't think they'll be in the top 4. I don't think they should be. But, man, top 5, top 6, you're going to see Ole Miss, who we kind of joke about all this stuff, guys. Ole Miss really has a chance here. If Alabama stumbles against Kentucky or Auburn, Ole Miss is in and they win out. So it's going to be something very interesting to watch. But, Ralph, any of your thoughts on this? Obviously, Florida State sitting there at number 4.
Yeah, I mean, I have one though comment is James Madison is getting disrespected for being 9-0,
very true.
Not being in the top 25. I mean, I think they're better than Kansas State, honestly. I mean, they played some really good football. Now they have lost their best defender this year. The country's leading in sacks. I can't pull his name up right now, but he has been an absolute force for them. But the top 4, man, it's just going to be like this until we finally see a loss out of these 4 teams. Georgia's got a tough one this weekend against Ole Miss. Obviously, we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. And Alabama sitting at 8 is, they're going to sit right behind Texas just because Texas beat them. I think right now that's the only reason they're sitting behind them. I think if they played on a neutral site again right now, I mean, Alabama probably cakewalks them. I really do.
I agree.
I mean, I'd probably most of these teams against Alabama that played a neutral site, they're probably going to beat them. Alabama will probably beat anybody.
I really think that 5 through 9 that they're just neck and neck 5 through 9. I think the committee really thinks 5 through 9 is basically all equal. It's just with these regular season outcomes is the only difference.
Point system like they do for AP top 25, they get points for votes,
or that BCS point system they used to do. Yeah,
that was
computer
best.
rankings.
If we could get something like that, we actually see how close they actually have these things. That'd be kind of cool to see. But yeah, 1 through 10, I'm very solid on. I think they're the best teams in the country, obviously, and Penn State's up there, and they got a tough one against Michigan this weekend. So we'll see if they're actually a top 10 team. But I would say fumbled pretty hard against Ohio State. Just didn't look there. They didn't play the best. I mean, they just had an off day.
But they'll probably have Michigan signs, but they didn't have Ohio State. So
you saw Purdue's mascot this past week, did you not?
I did. That was hysterical.
That was awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So I have the top 4 is what they like. I have Michigan at 1 just because I was talking to one of my buddies of mine earlier. He's a big Georgia fan. He asked me why I had Michigan at 1. I said, look, dude, they just done everything they're supposed to do against the teams they're supposed to beat. I have not to Georgia. Georgia has probably better wins, but I mean, they're just beating the crap out of everybody. It's just what's going on. They'll play a better team this weekend. We'll finally get to see them. Georgia beats Ole Miss this weekend. I throw Georgia at 1 easily after this weekend.
Yeah.
If they have a convincing win, obviously. Now, if it's like Ole Miss probably should have won the game and Georgia's got lucky. Different conversation, but if they have a convincing win, I easily throw them at 1. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and to that, I mean, look, Georgia getting lucky. I mean, look, they still got to win the football game. If they beat Ole Miss in a close, Ole Miss is a good football team.
Yeah,
Ole Miss has a top 4 defense in yardage per game in the SEC. It's something that Pete Golden's been actually pretty decent for Ole Miss.
Bama fans would disagree with that, but
I'll tell you one thing: LSU fans want to bring. I believe Pete Golding's from Louisiana. They want to bring him home as the DC.
I'll tell you what, the team that's got the number 1 red zone defense in the SEC is not in the top 25.
Oh my gosh!
So how many wins really disrespected?
How many wins do they have?
5. 5-4.
I think the biggest crime though is putting that number 22 team anywhere near the top 25.
I think they're too low.
I didn't say the name.
They're too low.
I
think they're too low.
I'm not even gonna say their name. Number 22 should not be in the top 25.
I think they're too low.
If you can't score points, you should not be in the top 25.
They don't give up points.
They can't score points.
That's why they're going to play for a conference championship. I think they're too low.
Go Hoosiers this weekend. Almost took Indiana.
They don't play.
That's not who they play.
And who do they play? I don't even see. That's
We're
no one
talking about it
cares.
later. We're going to talk about it later.
We're talking about that game later.
Oh God!
Don't worry,
help us.
it's already in there.
I want to get to this comment right here from Matt Brook. He goes, of course, fifth sounds about right. Does Georgia start to spiral if they lose to Ole Miss? Could Tennessee hurt them at home? I think that's something we're going to preview that game here in a second, Matt. Great question. Dr. Bob goes, Texas over Alabama is reminiscent of Oregon beating Ohio State 2 years ago when Ohio State was clearly better by the end. You know, it's one of those things. I just think the rankings are stupid. Like I think it's dumb because I do agree with that. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be really, really interesting to kind of watch this group play. It's going to be really fun. A team that I'm also kind of excited to see in there. And look, we talked about this on the Wednesday night or on the Monday night show. Louisville at 11. Is Louisville a dark horse contender
With
if
those
chaos
jerseys,
happens?
absolutely.
I mean,
Those jerseys, absolutely.
the number 3 team in the ACC is a dark horse for chaos, and they're not ranked. They beat that number 24 team.
Will Manis is a Georgia Tech fan.
Where are they?
They lost to Bowling Green. That's
That'll keep you out of the playoff
Hold
top
on.
25.
I'm just saying. Losing Bowling Green is not convincing enough for me to put you in the top 25.
Let's go right here. Louisville said, Dr. Bob says Louisville lost to Pitt. Yeah, that's going to keep them out. Agreed.
Hey, look, that Bowling Green team you're talking about is putting a hurting on Kent State right now, 28-6 at halftime. So
I'm pretty sure Shaw High School could put a hurting on Kent State.
they're 1-8. So
If you don't know who Shaw High School is, the local high school in Columbus.
Yeah. Also,
They're
another
not
note:
very
does Georgia know how to lose? Not often do they lose. Does it completely crush them? Yeah, they hadn't lost in 3 years.
The
I mean,
last loss was Alabama in the SEC championship game, wasn't it?
They haven't lost a regular season game since 2020 against Florida.
that's
Crazy.
insane.
That's crazy.
Gosh,
That's
Kyle
wild.
Trask and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, man. Kyle Pitts. I don't want to talk about it. Hey, let's move on here to the next segment. We're going to take a look at some of the games we're going to preview. We're going to rock and roll here with game number 1 on the docket. It's what you guys have been talking about in the comments, and we're going to bring it to the forefront here. Game of the week, guys. This is a matchup that College Game Day is going to be here. I think SEC Network is going to be there too. One of their show. So, all SEC Nation. Georgia, Ole Miss. Georgia rolls in. Guys, I did this late last night. I think it's still a 10.5 point spread. These spreads are based off of late last night, so it could be skewed a little bit. This spread started out did it start at 12?
Not 19.5 a couple weeks ago.
Oh, a couple weeks ago.
Okay, I was about to say 19.5
I
on
want to say
Monday.
Monday was 14.5.
Monday was
and
14, yeah.
And I was shocked by that. That's a lot
Yeah.
of that's just a lot.
So, look, I know Matt Brook mentioned it earlier about Ole Miss. Is this the team to challenge Georgia? I think Jackson Dart is better than Brady Cook. I think he's more explosive. We've seen what they've been able to do with Trey Harris. Trey Harris just went off last week. That could be a problem for a Georgia secondary. Jamon Dumas-Johnson not being able to play in this football game, that's going to be something. Ralph's love affair with Quinshon Judkins that I'm sure he's going to bring up on the show for the 4th straight week, but it's very, very true. Quinshon Judkins is a big piece of this offense. Will, we'll start with you. Is Ole Miss the best team right now on that regular season slate to challenge what Georgia likes to do?
Yeah, they are. But Jamon Dumas-Johnson being out is a huge blow for this Georgia defense. If he was healthy, I would really think Georgia would roll in this game. Georgia, they're really good at home. We've seen that. They got it out against Missouri, who's really good. They've got a really good front. I think Missouri defensively is a lot stronger than Ole Miss, so I think Georgia can get back to what they're used to doing on offense. Because you look at Ole Miss, they gave up their last 5 games. 49, yeah. 5 games ago, it was LSU. That's how long ago it was. They've had a bye week. 49 to LSU, 20 to Arkansas, who up until last week against Florida looked hapless on offense. Were dreadful, and they gave up 20.
Pitiful.
Gave up 21 to Auburn, and Auburn is not good offensively. 7 to Vanderbilt, but that's Vanderbilt. And then 35 last week to Texas A&M, who somehow has not fallen apart. But they gave up a lot to Texas A&M. So I think defensively, Ole Miss is not going to be able to stop Georgia. They're going to have to get into a shootout with them. But even with Dumas-Johnson out, I think Georgia can get enough stops in this game. So I'm going to go Georgia, and I'm going to take the 10.5 for Georgia to cover. I think Lane Kiffin in these big games, he he doesn't do well. His teams do not do well in these big games. They get talked up every year. We see it against Alabama every year because they get them early, and Ole Miss gets off to a good start, and then they just get kind of erased by Alabama. We've seen Auburn do it to them in years past. They get hyped up. Auburn able to pull out a win against them. So these big games, Lane Kiffin has not proven to me that he gets his team going and over the hump. And I put a lot of that blame on him. I remember 2 years ago, the Auburn game, they were ranked in the top 10 and went into Jordan-Hare Stadium and lost because he refused to kick field goals. He went for fourth down inside the red zone, I think 4 times, and went 0 for 4. And I think his play calling in big games lets him down. So, I'm going Georgia. Trust Kirby Smart in these big games. Trust Georgia at home. Sanford Stadium at night. It's going to be loud. It's their biggest home game they've had, I want to say, in a couple years, honestly. A top 10 matchup at home.
Played Tennessee
last year was a big one. Yeah, that would be the argument.
That was a 3:30 game. They hadn't had a night game like this.
That's true.
I would say
night game, you can make the argument 2019 Notre Dame. Like that was a night game kickoff that year. I'm trying to think, man. Outside of that, I don't know. I do think it's going to be rocking. It's going to be loud. They're going to be ready to go over there. So I like Georgia. I like them to cover that 10.5. I like that number's come down because I think they can cover that 10.5. You like this? Matt Brooks says he likes the 10.5, but he's more interested in the over 57.5. Will, where do you like that one?
I don't know. Looking at the last couple games, like Auburn was a road game. They only put up 28, and Georgia, I think, has a much better
defense.
Georgia's much better defense than Auburn. Just looking at, they only put up 10 at Alabama. They went on the road to Tulane. They got 37 on Tulane, which was less than we thought it would. Only 27 against Arkansas. I don't know. I think I'm leaning to that under. I mean, Georgia, if Georgia can find some be able to run the ball, which I think they can do against that Ole Miss line. They can find some running room and run the ball better than they did against Missouri. They'll control the game, run the clock some, and I don't know that you get to 58.
Yeah. The thing that worries me with that over under at 57.5 is, do we see a repeat of what happened in Tuscaloosa? If you do, I think Georgia's a team that is going to know when they have a 2 touchdown, maybe even 3 possession lead. And that's really when they're going to kind of sit on it like they did against Tennessee last year in that game that, was really a blowout, but not in the final score margin.
Kirby Smart knows that Ole Miss offense, they can kind of score at will, and it doesn't take much for them to get hot. So I really don't see them coming off the gas, which may get you to that over, because they're going to keep going probably into the middle of the fourth quarter if they have to.
I like it right there, Mr. Green. Smash that like button. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel wherever you're watching. Ralph, your thoughts on this football game? 10.5 is the spread. Do you like Georgia in this one? How do you feel about Ole Miss's chances?
Well, I think it's hard to root against Georgia any game at home for them, especially when they're playing at this top level they are at the past 2-3 years. Just Kirby's got just a sound pack team over there. I mean, he does everything right. He's created a great system with it just builds up. Every year they get better. They're losing Demis Johnson, that's obviously, but they're going to have a 5-star step up right behind them and play just as well probably. I'm excited to see this Trey Harris, probably Kamari Lassiter matchup. That's what I'm guessing they're going to have on him. They had him on Luther Burden last week, and he only had 3 catches, I believe. If I'm correct.
Yeah, 3 for 20. 3 for yeah,
had
3
a
for
touchdown.
something.
Yeah,
he did have a touchdown, but only 3 catches.
So, can Trey Harris be that guy who actually beats him, who has a chance? But Trey Harris is a very dominant receiver. He had a great game last week against A&M. Does he have a great game against Georgia this week? I don't think so. I think Kamari Lassiter's just played great last few weeks. I'm excited to see. I'm gonna throw a name out there for all the Columbus guys. Michael Williams stepping up, making a huge game. Hopefully, the pass rush from A&M last week was really good. In that second half, I want to see Michael Williams make a few plays. Possibly being that I think he's, they're probably most elite pass rusher as a actual D lineman. I don't want to butcher his name. I think is it Smile Monday.
Smile Munden. Yeah,
he is probably the best pass rusher, but he is a linebacker, if I'm correct. So as an actual lineman, I want to see Michael Williams make a play. I'm hoping that makes he has a great game. So, but yeah, and then obviously you already said earlier, Quinshon Judkins. I mean, he is the best running back in the country.
There it is.
I'm getting you a Quinshon Judkins jersey though, but
I would love it.
It is true. It's if I get you a powder blue one, will you put it up on the wall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
He'll
well,
wear
I'll hang
it,
it up
dude.
on
He's
the,
not putting it on the wall.
I'll hang it. I would most certainly hang it on the wall. But my only thing is like Cody Schrader went over 100 yards last week. Judkins obviously is probably a lot more talented than Schrader. Schrader runs, like I said, like an NFL running back. Pacheco runs hard. Judkins he's just smooth with it. I mean, he really is. It's the best way to put it. Can you hold him back enough to just make Dart throw it enough? That's really my big question. If you stop him, you have a good chance to win this game easily.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think this too with geez, gotta love it. Welcome Jonesy to the comments section. I think this is it right here. Ole Miss is not great on third down defense. We've talked about Georgia. They got 46% of their chances against last week against Missouri. Did a really, really good job of that. But this Ole Miss defensive front is 5th in the nation in sacks. You mentioned the guys, the pass rush, 14th in tackles for loss. They've been great this season at winning the turnover battle. I'll say this. That's why I think the recipe is here for an upset. I do agree with a lot of what the comments are saying and what you guys have said. This is probably the team that has the best chance in the regular season to knock off. If this was in Oxford, I think completely different story. I'm taking Georgia in this one. I'm going to take them to cover, but I think this is going to be a game where the way Ole Miss will win this game is if they're going to have to learn to play a full 60. It's hard to do that with their style of offense. They did it against LSU earlier this season. I saw that one in person, them do that. But LSU has a ton of defensive issues. Playing Georgia for a full 60, look, they haven't lost a regular season game since 2020. The only game they've lost in between that was to Alabama, a team built nearly exactly like them. It is really, really hard to play a full 60-minute game against this group. And I'll say this to Ohio State last year, obviously. Ole Miss plays fast. They move fast. They act fast. They don't really care about controlling the clock. Georgia does. So, I do side with you in that. I think we could see a game, a final score. That's why I feel like the under's in play here a little bit, because I do feel like we could see a score of, let's say 27 to like 17. I mean, that wouldn't cover the spread, but like something weird, like 31-20. I mean, it's just something that's kind of like I don't know. They just bludgeon them to death kind of thing. Like they say, if you're going to get the ball, then we're going to take it. And it's going to depend a lot on that run game. Like you said, Will, Georgia started running, and this is credit to Mike Bobo. This 2 running back set in the backfield with Dylan Bell and Dejon Edwards, and it's really been nasty what they've been able to do out of that. Will and I have been big proponents of Dylan Bell ever since week 1. In his ability, I think that's a guy they're going to have to look at to maybe make a permanent move to running back and just be that guy for them that can do a lot of different things.
I don't think he had a carry last week against Missouri, and I don't understand that.
I don't. Yeah, and they still lined him up back there. So it's going to be very interesting to kind of see what this group's able to do. Yeah, no carries. Dylan Bell's a really, really good football player, though. He's been really nice. And then Dejon Edwards, Carson Beck, I think the atmosphere is going to be too much. I'm taking Georgia in this one to cover. And I think, too, guys, we're just going to see them once again put another feather in the cap, move along to next week at Tennessee. And Kirby Smart's not really going to care what the playoff committee says next Tuesday. And if you're a Georgia fan watching or listening to this, I don't think you should either, because as long as you keep winning, you're going to be where you need to be. And look, if you're freaking out about it, you're probably going to you're probably thinking to yourself like, oh gosh, well, what if, why does it matter? Like they've shown you the past 2 years. This is what you do. So I don't, the proof is there for this team. The recipe's there. They've shown it, but I do think I agree with you guys. Ole Miss is probably the best chance in the regular season to pull off the upset. Let's move to another game. This one, obviously another one of those, like, Will, you coined them on Monday. This is not the game I thought we were talking about. I thought we were moving to Penn State. That's on me. This one's not a playoff game. No, I had them in order, and I messed it up. Tennessee, Missouri. Guys, a top 15 matchup. Tennessee, is the line still 1 point? Once again, did these lines last night. Tennessee,
1 point, 58.5 is the over under.
Ooh.
I like the over.
You like the over?
I like the over.
In Como? Yeah.
I like the over.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to pick Missouri outright in this one. I want to pick Missouri outright. The only thing is, though, you like that?
I'm with
you.
I
think
that.
I don't. You like that? Will, you tell me why. I'll get to my point later on.
I'm going to get a strongly worded text message if who I think is watching the show is watching, the one Tennessee fan that I know.
In existence.
Yeah, I like Missouri. Missouri coming back home off a loss. They're in wounded animal mode. We've seen time and time again teams coming home off a loss play really, really well. This is going to be a tough game. Tennessee's run game. It's going to be Tennessee's run game against Missouri's passing game. Can Luther Burden, can they get him in space? Because that Tennessee secondary has been really good this year. Kept them in a lot of games, shutting down passing attacks. But I think this might be the best passing game Tennessee's faced all year. With Luther Burden heading it up, and Brady Cook. I think Brady Cook's best quarterback they've played as a passer. Obviously, Jalen Milroe gave them a lot of fits running the ball and throwing it deep. But yeah, I'm telling you, I like Missouri. Missouri's defense is I think very underrated. I think they match up well against that Tennessee run game, and they're gonna force Joe Milton to throw the ball, which has not been their strong suit. It's not been the strong suit of that offense. We've talked about it a couple times this year that Josh Heupel's evolved this offense and turned it into a running offense because that's the strengths of this offense, running the football, running it with what's his first name? Jalen Wright. Who's having an incredible year, 7.5 yards a carry. So it's going to be tough. But Mizzou at home, 1-point dog. I like Missouri.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, you mentioned a lot of factors. Missouri does enough on defense to make you feel like the inconsistencies of Tennessee's offense could doom them in this football game. And then I just once again believe that Missouri showed us that they've got a pretty nice pass rush. They got to Carson Beck pretty well last week. And that, too, they're just super efficient in what they do. And I think that Luther Burden's way too good to be held down for 2 straight weeks in a row. So I'm taking Missouri to win this one outright. Ralph, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, if this game was early in the season, I probably would have just taken Tennessee outright easily, just because of our high hopes this year of what we thought they were going to be, and and after that Florida game, you really thought Tennessee was just going to crumble, but they've picked it up the last few weeks. But I like Missouri. I've been on them for a few weeks now. I really liked them last week, how they performed. Obviously, they didn't get the outcome they wanted. But they played hard. They fought to the last, to the whistle, and that's just something that Missouri's getting done this year, and what Drinkwitz has really just kind of put forward their team this year. I'm going to take Missouri. There's not much really to it. Cody Schrader's been a dog for Missouri. Luther Burden is just, like I said, it's hard to hold him back for 2 weeks in a row. Can Milton be consistent enough to help them win this game? That's my big thing. If Milton can be consistent, I mean, I really do think Tennessee can make this a game, but I just like Missouri outright.
Yeah, I think overall, like when you take a look at this football game, once again, Pete just hanging out in the show. That's why I waited. Look, Tennessee's a good football team. This is going to be a game that I think is going to be decided in who can make. I mean, obviously, this is touche, like not too. This is kind of just what 100%. Happens.
Dr. Bob said it right there.
Yes.
I was going to say something about this, and I was like, is he actually playing? I didn't know he was out or not, so I'm glad he actually said that.
Yeah, hadn't being out is a massive blow. And I just I kind of, you talked the wounded animal route, Will. You talked about this, and there's 2 lines of thought. You can take that route of what you're taking, or you could say, are they going to kind of be what Notre Dame was in kind of the middle of the season, where there's just too many body blows and really getting into the meat of their schedule where they start to fall off. I tend to think that Eli Drinkwitz has this team in a better mindset to where they're going to bounce back. I just think I think it's good.
Look, Eli Drinkwitz, if I had a vote, he'd be SEC Coach of the Year for me. They're sitting at 7-2.
Yeah.
If they win 10 games, I don't know how you don't give it to them because, you look here at the end of their schedule, obviously the loss to Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, and then Arkansas at Arkansas. I mean, 10-2 with who they've played. Upset win over Kansas State. At the time, Kansas State was number 15. He's on the up, and he was on the hot seat coming in this year and has responded really well, and I think he's got them trending up.
No, and you think about it, too, they probably should have beat LSU. I mean, they should have beat LSU, so you're talking about a team that, without that loss, probably in a New Year's Six bowl. I mean, if we're just being real about it, I mean, probably in a New Year's Six bowl.
I mean, they win this week and win out. They're probably in a New Year's Six.
Maybe, yeah. They might be. Yeah, because I think about it, obviously the Sugar Bowl is not going to get a pick because that's one of the playoff games. So
Peach Bowl?
Peach Bowl, maybe. Yeah. Hey, we'll go watch them. We'll go watch Missouri play. I'll buy some Tiger gear. Hey, I do think that Missouri's a good football team. Like I said, I think they're going to bounce back in nice form and nice fashion. We move on to the next one. Ralph, I think this is the other de facto playoff game. It is.
When you were talking about.
We'll mention quarterfinal matchups this weekend. Georgia, Ole Miss. We moved to the Big Ten, and a conversation that people have been, once again, if you hadn't already, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, as the kids call it nowadays. Follow us there because we put out our rankings, and a lot of people are really interested in the story around Michigan. Now, look, we're not going to spend 30, 40 minutes talking about everything. Maybe we do a pre-recorded episode later sometime about this, guys. But, Will, your thoughts on a matchup where Penn State's offense concerns me in this. I think Michigan's defense is really, really good. And they've just been beaten up on lesser teams, and this is their chance. I think it's a pissed-off room up there in Ann Arbor that's ready to kind of flex their muscles from a player's perspective of maybe feeling a little disrespected.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I said it on Monday. This sign stealing thing just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And now they're going to fight it. And, Penn State's going to be the best team they played all year. They have to go on the road. Is it the whiteout game? I know it's a noon kick.
It's probably going to be the whiteout game.
I think they already had the whiteout game.
Have they had a home game really to play a whiteout game?
I think they picked Iowa for the whiteout game because it was a night game. But anyway,
banned.
But anyway, either way, this is best team Michigan's played all year. Penn State has one of the best home field advantages in the country. Mm-hmm. It's going to be cold. Looking at the weather right now, 38 degrees. Looks like it's going to be partly cloudy. Get your weather report here too. I think it's going to be an old school, ugly, low scoring Big Ten game. And I'm picking the upset here. I'm going Penn State to beat Michigan this week and knock Michigan out of the playoff picture altogether, which I think the committee is happy for because they don't have to make a decision. If Michigan loses, they don't really have a decision to make. But I like Penn State a lot. I think their defense is really good. Their offense. I mean, we've talked about Drew Aller not being great. Guys, he's thrown 20 touchdowns and 1 interception this year. I mean, he's played at a really high level. And I think he keeps it going. I think Michigan, I know you said they're mad, but I think going on the road is going to be too much. And I think all this is a big distraction. I think we'll learn a lot about Jim Harbaugh if they can win and cover that 4.5 points. I really like Penn State to cover that 4.5, but I'm going to pick them outright to win.
Ooh, I like it. Ralph, your thoughts on this one before I get to my little preview and pick?
Yeah, well, I agree with that, Will. I mean, we've talked about Drew Aller not being great, but he has been great. I think the one game we kind of look back at and say that wasn't his best performance was at Ohio State when he was 18 of 42. Just not really his kind of game. It's kind of looked like he was off. I mean, he didn't throw an interception, but he had that fumble that really hurt him. But Michigan's offense, man, I like them too much. Blake Corum, to me, has just been an absolute stud for them. J.J. McCarthy, obviously, in the Heisman race also. He's been super efficient, just been, just doing the thing. I've been saying it all year, just doing the right thing in every game they're supposed to win. I'm going to take Michigan. I'm going to take them probably to cover. I mean, I like this. I know Penn State's a hard place to win. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff, though. It's not as bad as playing a 7 o'clock kickoff at Penn State. I know Auburn's had that problem a few years ago. I mean, as a former Auburn fan, I watched that game. It was hard to watch for Auburn to play in an environment that's that loud. So, Will, I know, I see you shaking your head, Will. I know. Look, I was pulling for Auburn in that game.
What does that even mean?
What do you mean, what does that mean?
It's a slight. It's a slight, I think.
Miss me with that.
There's no slight. It's just my one thing is Roman Wilson. Is that right? Roman Wilson. This is his breakout game. This is the game that he shows up and shows everyone he's probably one of the top 5, top 6 receivers in the country. He's very underrated.
Who?
So I was looking at this game a lot today because I don't do anything or know anybody.
I mean, you
woke up at 12:30. So.
It's a joke.
No, it's not a joke. We all know it's a real.
I was looking at this, guys. This might be 2 top 5 defensive lines in the country playing in this football game. Penn State, Maryland's not awful. They don't have a god awful offensive line, but Penn State's
don't you dare bring this up in here.
But listen, Penn State's defensive front acted like they weren't even there. 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, and a 51-15 win. Once again, you get someone else lined up against you. They did that. When you look at Michigan, the question I have to ask myself is, I think that offensive line has a really good case to win the Joe Moore Award for the third straight season. I think they've got probably 5 to 6, maybe 7 NFL caliber players, guys that are not even starting that will be NFL players one day on that offensive front. The question for me is, what does it look like when J.J. McCarthy is hurried? What does it look like when he's uncomfortable? We haven't seen that this season. What does it look like, when you have a guy in Blake Corum and company in this run game that can't really get going? I mean, they struggle with that. So I think that Michigan is probably the better football team. I think that, Penn State's a really, really tough place to play. And I think, too, obviously the controversy, you can't ignore what the controversy is in this football game. So here's my pick. Penn State has the lines on both sides of the scrimmage. I'm going to start that over again. I don't know what the heck I just said. Penn State has the lines on both sides of the football to be able to hold up in this football game. I feel confident saying that. They're going to hit some plays. Drew Aller has settled in nicely, and he's far removed, it feels like, from that Ohio State performance. But where I think this game swings in Michigan's favor is how they methodically just grind you down. I'm picking the Wolverines, but I'm going to take Penn State to cover. I think this is going to be a very, very close football game. And I like the fact that we all have 3 different picks in this one, but I'm taking Michigan to win, Penn State to cover. And I think it's going to take a balanced effort from J.J. McCarthy to be able to win this football game. I think he can do it, but I think that's going to be the big one storylines to watch as this game unfolds. So really going to be a lot of fun to watch that one. We move on. Go ahead.
I just want one comment about your offensive line thing. You have a grad transfer, senior, and a sophomore on that offensive line. These guys have been playing with each other, most of these guys have been
27 years.
Yeah, it feels like it. It's the same thing I said about 2 years ago when they played Georgia in the playoffs. Their offensive line, they were all 2 or 3 year starters.
Yeah,
that resonates very well for a team that your offensive line works together. I think that's what probably was Alabama's offensive line beginning of the year, is that they weren't really meshing well, and now they have finally figured it out and they've gotten better. So that's what Michigan's done very well this past year.
Yeah, they also play an LSU front that is just soft. So that's also part of that too, in mentality and physicality. Let's keep rolling. Final game that we're going to preview. And look, we're going to get to one. I saw someone just put in a comment, Georgia Tech 38, Clemson 30. We're going to talk about that game here tonight. We're going to have an in-depth preview with yours truly tomorrow. Guys, we go to the game out west, and we love these Washington Huskies. This is a Washington Huskies fan show. It feels like it. Will loves Oregon. Washington has to get back to Vegas. Will, your thoughts on this one? Utah, not a great offense. We don't really need to spend a ton of time on this one. Does Washington cover? That's really all I care about in this game. Do you feel like Washington covers?
I do. I mean, Utah is a tough place to play. Their defense is good. Wait, this game's at Washington. It's in Washington. Okay. Yeah, we have Washington up first. Utah's defense is really good, but I don't know how they can score. I think they're overrated. I think the committee's overrating them. Their quarterback play has been really bad all year. Utah, they beat USC, but that's kind of it. Everybody else they've played, they've performed about how you would expect. The better teams they've lost to pretty handily, lost by 2 touchdowns to Oregon State and got blown out by Oregon, beat Florida, which I think those 2 teams have gone like this. They've swapped trajectories since the first week. But Washington's really good. I think, they may have the Heisman winner at quarterback. Their defense is no slouch. I like Washington to roll.
Yeah, I think Washington, this is one of those, I'm not going to include it in our best bets portion of the show, but I do think this is a game that I feel safe in saying Washington minus 9.5. A man Green down there, he says Washington win big by 21 points. That'd be quite the statement against the top 25 team. Ralph, real quickly, and we'll move on to the next segment. Do they cover?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I go back to that Oregon game when Utah was at home and it was game day and they were all hyped up and they just got absolutely smoked. I mean, you couldn't stop Oregon's offense. You're not going to stop Washington's offense. So I see Washington. If anything, Washington scores or Utah may score 2 touchdowns, but it's going to be easily covered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't think Utah can keep up.
You say a big top 25 win. Washington, if the coaches know what they're doing, they're talking about is how disrespected they are because they can't crack the top 4, even though they're 9-0 in the driver's seat in their conference. So they need to make a statement. They can get a huge 3-4 touchdown win against the top 25 team. Would go a long way to helping them get into that top 4.
I like it. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we do, we're going to take a look at our games to watch, the honorable mentions that didn't get the full previews. Yes, Georgia Tech Clemson's in that, and Ralph and Will have a couple others that we're going to talk about. Best bets coming up in the last end of the segment as we get ready to talk college football, Week 11, here on the Crowded Booth. Hey, everyone. Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth, and I'm excited to partner with Milton and Drew McCluskey as they get on their new venture, the Cajun Cousins Company. It's an all-stop shop for some of the best food and atmosphere entertainment that you're going to be able to have, especially this fall as college football is right around the corner. What is Cajun Cousins Company? Well, Milt decided to start this business back in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where they're based out of. Drew initially joined him after spending some time with the Saints, but they offer catered Cajun delicacies such as crawfish boils and Aunt Dottie's jambalaya. They bring everything and they can set up anywhere. Look, folks, they're passionate about giving people a reason to gather and to get to the culture that they love so much. They're expanding that brand to the low country of South Carolina, the upstate area, and other areas of the Southeast. So look, if you're going to throw that tailgate party or you're going to have a big gathering, reach out to Cajun Cousins Company today over at CajunCousinsCO.com to get that quote. Tell them the Crowded Booth sent you. We can't wait to see what they have in store this fall. All right, it's time for games to watch, and guys, we'll lead off with mine. Wills,
lead off with Wills. Please.
God, this is gonna be Sickos Committee. Here we go. All right, Will.
It is
the Crowded Booth Sicko right here. Rutgers at Iowa, and Bryce left because he doesn't want to hear about it.
I don't want to hear about it either.
No, you're gonna hear about it, and you want to hear about it. Oh no, where'd they go? I had the game pulled up. Okay, there it is. 3:30 kick on the Big Ten Network. Easier to find, actually, than the 2 o'clock CW game for the ACC. These are two teams that I've watched more than I probably should have. I really like Rutgers, really like Greg Schiano. Iowa, just because they are confusing. They make no sense. I watched a lot of that 10-7 beautiful game at the cathedral that is Wrigley Field. But that setup was horrendous. I hope they never play a football game at Wrigley Field again.
Good thing they didn't even barely need the end zones.
Right. Did you see the video where they took the highlights and put it in black and white and it's like a silent film? That was hysterical. I love it.
Fan base sounds like.
But this Iowa defense is really good. Whereas Rutgers offense, Rutgers, they put up points. They put up a strong fight against Ohio State last week. This probably, just like every Iowa game, will be a race to 15. Can somebody score 15 points to win? Because that offense is pathetic, and it's going to be great for everybody when the nepotism comes to an end at the end of the season.
Dr. Bob says root canal versus wisdom teeth extraction. Mr. Green comes back with, he's taking wisdom tooth extraction. I'm not sure really who that one is. I think we're taking the Hawkeyes, but yeah.
Y'all join me watching at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network. Nobody wants to watch Tennessee, Missouri. Everybody want to watch Rutgers in Iowa.
That's not okay. Yeah, but you know what? With our luck,
listen,
Will and I'll be up next Tuesday night like we were watching Texas State play that one after the highlights.
Listen, Iowa is football heritage. We need to respect. You've got Iowa, who plays like we're in the 1890s, and you got Rutgers, who's the first team to ever play college football back in the 1890s. So this is heritage.
Purist. You're a purist.
This is a heritage game. That Northwestern game, it was a beautiful 10-7 game, and it was on Peacock. Hard to find. It's ridiculous that it wasn't on NBC for everybody to enjoy. But yeah, keep your eyes open for Rutgers and Iowa.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's that. Ralph, you give me yours.
Here he is. My game to watch is USC at Oregon.
I didn't even know they were playing.
Yeah, well,
Will's so focused in on that other game, he didn't pay attention.
The only reason I chose this one, it's a 15-point spread. It's a lot of points for Oregon. I think it's just going to be an absolute shootout. I think I go back to that Washington game against USC where it was 52-42. That over hit extremely early in the game. The over is set at 73.5. I want to see if that hits too. I can see Oregon just blowing them out though. Their defense is obviously really good this year, and Bo Nix has done some great things, obviously. So look to see if Bo Nix makes his Heisman candidacy like strong here with a big win against USC. So I got what
he'll have to throw for 600 yards to get anybody's attention against USC. They are feeble.
They are feeble, Will, and I agree.
But they finally fired Alex Grinch. Thank goodness.
Yeah, the only reason I chose this game because Bryce, your best bet was my first game to watch. But so
I don't even remember what my best bet was, man. So that's how
I'm not gonna bring it up.
zooted we are in the chat right now.
It's not the sicko community.
Throw up Dr. Bob's comment. I love it.
Keep your bleeding eyes open for Rutgers in Iowa. All right, ladies and gentlemen, game of the week. Can they beat the streak? Ralph.
What?
I put the wrong game in there.
Oh,
I meant to put Clemson, Georgia State, Georgia Tech. Anyways, though, keep doing that one. That's actually a really good game to watch. Oklahoma, West Virginia. So this is where we're going to roll with this. I really hyped that up, didn't I? The Sooners coming off just back-to-back, didn't want just not good. They're kind of reeling. Neil Brown has saved his job in Morgantown, and he's done a good job of that. Can West Virginia score a big win here? We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited to watch that football game as well. So that's going to be a fun one. Real quick, guys, your thoughts. Here we go. Game to watch. Georgia Tech, Clemson. Will, you lead us off.
The fan. You want the fan to go first?
I just, yeah.
Go ahead. What's the spread on this game?
14.5.
Yeah.
14.5, dude. You don't need it. Georgia Tech's winning outright. Going up to Clemson at noon. They're playing for their ACC championship berth lives in this game. We looked at it. I was the only one that said Georgia Tech had a chance on the show. They got Clemson, then they get Syracuse at home, and they're done in SEC play. So they're pushing all their chips in to take down Clemson, who is having the worst season in recent memory. Georgia Tech's really come around. They've grown on me this year.
Yeah.
And they've got a chance. They're not out of it. I think Haynes King, I think he's battle tested, battle proven. And he can go in there and take care of the ball. The problem is, though, can Georgia Tech stop Clemson's running game? Have they cleared dude, I don't know anybody's names. Phil Moffitt went off last week. Did they clear what's his name?
Shipley's playing.
Shipley is playing.
Shipley's playing.
It's gonna be tough. But I'm taking Georgia Tech. You don't need the 14.5 points. They're gonna win outright. They're gonna hope Louisville falls down a step so they can get into that ACC championship game.
But Boston College still got to lose.
Flustered.
Yeah, Boston College still got to lose.
They'll lose, dude. We're not worried about that.
Dr. Bob says this. He goes, Dr. Bob will be on site for intern duty, getting up early on a Saturday to make the trek from Durham to Pickens County, South Carolina.
Did you hear what I said?
The time.
Did you hear what I said? We are not worried because we are going to beat the Clemson Tigers.
Well, I'll pass the 4-hour drive by listening to last year's Rutgers, Iowa radio call.
There you go, Green. Yeah.
Green's got it. Green's got Tech
42-38.
Ralph, your prediction on this game. How do you feel like? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that Georgia Tech beat the streak of losing on was it even weeks? Am I right?
Yeah, first winning record of the regular season since 2018, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, they're above 500 now. Yeah, above 500
for the first time since 2018. Yeah, since I was in college.
I'm just gonna say this with a duo of Phil Moffitt and Will Shipley. It's a hard duo to stop. I mean, obviously we saw Phil Moffitt
for a bad
week.
Run defense.
Yeah, especially what we saw last week with Moffitt doing in just his actual starting role, which he probably should be starting, but Shipley's also extremely good. So I'd like to see what happens. I mean, just go out there and run a triple option, Clemson. I mean, with Klubnik, Shipley, and Moffitt, do it against Tate. I mean, it would be awesome. It would be awesome to watch that. I'm going to go Clemson. I don't think they cover. I think they kind of pull away in the fourth quarter to make it like a 7 to a 10-point score at the end. So I think Georgia Tech does some great things. Obviously,
Right.
they're gonna be bowl eligible. What's wrong, bro?
Keep going. Just keep going.
Well, they're gonna get a bowl game. It's a huge win for this team and this program. Obviously,
Who's going to get a bowl game?
Georgia Tech. You don't think so?
Hey, if they lose this game, they got to beat Syracuse.
I got the Louisiana Power Company calling me on the phone right now. We got to wrap this show up.
Oh gosh, Bryce is gonna lose his power.
Look, I just think Georgia Tech gonna play inspired. They're gunning for an ACC title berth, and I think they'll do it.
Hello.
Okay, Will. Let me look.
He
Will.
just answered the phone.
Listen,
vibes. I'm picking off vibes, just pure vibes.
I want to say this.
The vibes are high on the flats. Look, I texted y'all and y'all didn't even respond. I was on North Ave yesterday, and nobody responded to me. Should have put it in the Discord. I was on there. The vibes were immaculate.
No, you said you were on East Campus or something like that.
That's
Bryce
on
had
North Ave.
He didn't know what he was talking.
I had no
about.
clue where East Campus is.
North Ave.
There's 2 quarterbacks in the country that have at least 2,300 passing yards, 20 touchdown passes, 500 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels and Haynes King.
Telling you.
Man, we're gonna have a loaded show tomorrow night. Tomorrow's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'll be on the show Sunday night if Tech wins.
Yeah, well, if
Saturday
not,
night if they win.
I will be on Saturday night. What am I going live from the LSU press box?
No, I mean,
I'll go live.
We'll do it. We'll now do it.
Jeez,
Live reaction. I'll have the call-ins and everything. We'll have this going.
Hey, in all seriousness, here I'm going to have a full preview of this game tomorrow night, 7:30. But I do agree with you guys. This is a game Georgia Tech can win.
It's 12:00 kickoff. We just do it right after the game's over. Middle of the
it
day.
is?
I won't be there.
It's a 12:00 kickoff.
We'll go live from inside the airplane.
Reaction. Oh Jesus!
Hey, before we go to break here, I do want to show off our good friend Matt Brook. I can't show it. Sometimes I can't stand things. But that's okay. Hey, let's go to a quick break here. When we come back, best bets. It's a chance for you to make money. Fade all of us. We're going to be right back after this.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
All right, time to make some money off of us. And Ralph, nobody's betting with us. I just need you to know that.
I am so disappointed in last week.
Yeah, it is. For some reason, guys, it's not letting me share the screen. And this is why we need. Yeah, it's just being ridiculous. All right, let's go through what happened last week. Ralph, you took
Arizona plus 2.5 against UCLA, and Arizona won.
Yeah, Arizona won outright in that game, 27-10. I made the mistake. I did not even know that UL was on their third string quarterback. Arkansas State beats UL. I had Louisiana. You had UL minus 9.5. Arkansas State won by 20. Feeble.
The comment was made earlier, and I will go bring it back up in just a minute when I can find it. But continue.
Will had Florida minus 6. Arkansas won outright. Guys, do not look now. Ralph's on a heater. 3 weeks in a row, Ralph's won. He's climbing back into the standings real quick. What we got here for me, we have 0-1, 0-2, 1-1. There you go. 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 5-3. I'm 5-5 through 10 weeks. Ralph is 6-4.
Ooh.
No. You are.
I'm 5-5 also.
I don't even know what you are, dude. You're 5-5 as well. Will has
that to answer Jonesy's question. Will has to push. Will have that push.
Yeah, because I have that push.
I don't know what the records are. I can't read it.
You can't
Am I 6-3-1 now?
I think you're 6-3-1. I think you're 6-3-1. Ralph is 6-4. And I am 5-5. So I mean, we're all right there entering the final
I'm
couple weeks of the
just
season.
disappointed in Florida. The Jort wears let me down, getting down 14-0 early. Otherwise, would have been comfortable.
There you go.
Dr. Bob says 6-3-1, 6-4, 5-6. Yeah, but I can't be 5-6, Dr. Bob, because we're not counting week 0 Navy
You're
plus 1.5
100%.
against Notre Dame. It's terrible. All right, let's get to our best bets of the week. Here we go. Matt Brook, hope you're still watching. Will, you lead us. Or no, you know what? Ralph, you won last week. You lead us off. What you got for us this week?
I am going Oklahoma State, the Bedlam winners at UCF -2.5.
This is bad.
You like
if you like your money, you fade this. This is a square bet if I have ever seen one.
I'm just
because whatever Ralph is about to say is 100% correct, and your logic would tell you to bet Oklahoma State 100%.
The last, I want to say 7 games, Ollie Gordon has had some of the most incredible performances. Going back to Iowa State when they lost, the last loss they had was Iowa State, 34-27, ran for 121. He has ran for over 120 yards every week since that game and just outperformed every other running back in the country. Just by his stats alone. Watch Ollie Gordon come out and play a great game against UCF. A team that's just, look, I'll agree with you. I was high on UCF beginning of the year. I'm a big Malzahn fan. Their Big 12 debut has just been kind of bad this year. Just, they lost Plumlee for a while. Just been struggling. Look to see if they can make a comeback. I just don't see against Oklahoma State, who's been on a high horse lately.
UCF has one of the worst run defenses in the Big 12, I think, and I like what you said there. The Athletic did an article saying that should Ollie Gordon be an emerging dark horse for the Heisman candidate, and just shows you the uneducation that's going on over there.
This is a major letdown spot for Oklahoma State.
Clip it, because one of these guys is going to be eating crow on Monday, and I can't wait for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Will, you roll with yours here. What are you getting best bet wise?
I'm going to play Homer this week. I'm going Auburn +3 at Arkansas. I think Auburn is, on the offensive side of the ball, really starting to figure things out. I think Hugh Freeze has taken a much bigger role in the offense here in recent weeks. Robbie Ashford, he left him somewhere. Robbie Ashford is out of the picture at quarterback for the time being. This week, Holden Garner elevated to QB2. So it's the Peyton Thorne show for Auburn, and Peyton Thorne has really played much better in the last couple of weeks, having full reins of the offense, not switching in and out. I think this is a good spot for Auburn going to Arkansas. Arkansas, I know they had the win last week, but they really let down after that, jumping out to a 14-0 lead. Florida should have won that game in regulation. They missed a field goal as time expired. Florida should have won the game. I still think Arkansas looked better. They went back to quarterback run. It's obviously going to be tough for Auburn. Auburn always lays an egg in Fayetteville, but I don't think they will this time. I'm going Auburn +3.
All right. I'm going to take a trip back to the Big 12. And for my best bet this week, I'm going to roll with, Ralph, you're going to put it up because I don't remember what it is. Houston -2.5 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is awful. And, Dr. Bob said right here, the 4 new Big 12 teams have a combined 5 conference wins. I think Houston is going to be able to do some things. I like Dana Holgorsen. I don't know. I just like Houston this game. I think Cincinnati's struggled big time. They've struggled defensively. They've been really, really bad, and this is a road game for them. They're going to have to travel down to Houston for it. So, yeah, I think it's going to be good stuff. But, hey, that's my best bet. Houston -2.5 against Cincinnati. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Just under an hour tonight as we talk college football here on Week 11, and cannot wait for Week 12, Week 13, Week 14. We got to figure out programming for the next week as well, and in the offseason. Real Sickos Committee game here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, whether you're listening on radio, Spotify. We appreciate wherever you get your podcast. And if you're watching right here on YouTube, hit subscribe. Make sure you like the video and join the community on Discord as well. For Will Maness, for Ralph Leary, for all of the people in the chat and the comments. We appreciate you. My name is Bryce Koon saying so long. We'll catch you on Monday evening talking college football. Georgia Tech Clemson preview tomorrow night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. This has been another episode of The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.